I published a video a couple of days ago about how I'm using Claude Code in my home directory as a general purpose agent. And someone left a very important comment on that video, which I should have talked about, but did not talk about at all in that video. And they asked, what precautions do you take to ensure that the agent doesn't corrupt your directories? So there's a short answer and there's a longer answer. And the short answer is I don't do anything. I always run Claude Code, or if I'm running Codex, same thing, with the YOLO flag, -- dangerously skip permissions. And the reason I do that is that, first of all, the agent is not buying me any velocity or productivity if I have to babysit it, if I have to manually look at each action it's about to take and then press yes or no. So I only want to use it for workflows where I am comfortable letting it rip without me having to watch it. The second thing, and this is specific to my setup, it may or may not be true of your setup, is that at least on my machine, everything I really care about is backed up very, very well. Either to GitHub if it's a code repo or to other places if it's not code. So even if the agent does an rm-rf on some directory, it's easy for me to get that data back. And I think that's a very rare possibility. I haven't seen anything even remotely like it so far. Or if it does something to my system itself, it'll cost me a few hours of having to set up a new machine, but it's not going to be some kind of catastrophic data loss for me. This is not to say that I have no risk management at all. My risk management is what I said before. I'm only running this on workflows that I feel comfortable running with no oversight. For example, I'm not letting this anywhere near my financial information, for example. But I wish I could. I don't think I trust it enough to let it do things with my money or move money or pay things or, look up my statements or summarize them for me. And I wish I really could. But I think in order for agents to really be useful in those kinds of more high stakes situations, what you really need is a better auth model for agents. And I wrote a blog post about this a month ago, which is that right now you're left with two bad options if you want your agent to perform high stakes actions for you. One is that you just give it very little API access, or you give it read-only access, and then it can't do stuff. And the other one is you just give it complete credentials to your system, your accounts, you let it do whatever it wants. And then you run the risk of it doing something you don't want or doing something bad. The example I keep coming back to is moving money or managing money. However, if you look at the real world, there are plenty of existing mechanisms and structures, legal structures and legal mechanisms that allow you to hand over authority to parties other than yourself and still have some accountability. So I'm not a lawyer, but there is this concept of power of attorney. There's financial managers, there's financial planners, and they can do stuff with your money on your behalf. And yet there are safeguards such that if they simply steal your money or do bad things with your money, there are ways to hold them accountable. So you get the benefit of productivity and delegation, and you still have some risk management. But in the technical world of agents, we don't yet have that. And that's what I'm trying to call out in this blog post. And I think what we really need is some way to delegate auth while indicating that the actor is an agent and not me the human personally moving the mouse and the keyboard. And if we could make that distinction and then record the actions as such between which ones are performed by the human themselves versus an agent acting on behalf of a human, and then have a log which shows which action was taken by which. That would go a very long way towards letting AI agents perform these kinds of high stakes actions. And then in this blog post, I quickly rule out a couple of quick answers. People have been doing this kind of thing with service accounts or robot accounts, but I don't think that's the answer, because I want this to be at a personal level. I want it to indicate that an AI agent that is managing my money is managing my money. Whereas if you look at robot accounts, they are acting not on behalf of a person, but on behalf of a system. The other thing that won't work is doing this at the app layer. I think this has to be at a much lower, much more fundamental layer in the stack. It has to be at the auth layer of the stack. And this would really unlock a lot of agentic behavior for these kinds of high stakes use cases. Even now, you have all these agentic browsers coming out. There's Google's Mariner, there's Comet from Perplexity. But I would still feel hesitant to let those agentic browsers work with my bank websites until they had some concepts like this deeper in their auth stack. Anyway, so that's just a long rabbit hole off of this comment about how do you protect yourself if the agent does something bad on your home directory. So TLDR, you've got to run it in YOLO mode if you want to get any benefit out of it. At the same time, don't let it do really sensitive stuff, especially don't let it do anything with money. All right, hope that helps. Thanks.